pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, just seek a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Diggs,
I'll second.
seconded by Ashley. All in favor? 5-0. Now we just need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Just a reminder, if you abstain from something, please do so. If not, I seek a motion to
I have to abstain from check number 47964.
I have to abstain from check number 47906.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
motion made by Stephanie,
I'll second it.
seconded by Amanda. All in favor? 5-0. Sweet. Moving right along, presentations, we got PTO up first, Ms. Amanda Lowenville.
Thank you for letting me come today to present. Just an update on all of the things that we did in 2022-2023 school year, and then some of the things that we have planned for the next school year. I'm not sure, Amy, did this get in their board reports at all? What I sent you? Okay, that's fine. So some of the things that we did for this past school year, we purchased PBS themed t-shirts for all of the teachers. We held our first readathon. It's kind of what we do in our off years in between doing the cookie dough fundraiser. So we did the readathon this year. We raised about $10,000 with that, and that comes straight to us. So that was a really great fundraiser. The kids totaled, we had, I think, 81 participate, so that was about 33% of the student body. They read about 13,000 minutes. They really enjoyed the prize incentives that we had. And one thing that we worked on a little bit more this year is we kind of went in partnership with some of the businesses in the community to have them help donate some of the prizes. So like Subway donated the cookies, 5 and 50 donated the ice cream for that. The Hinch's Farm donated the eggs that the kids loved smashing on Miss Pettiger's head. She really loved her shower after that. And then California McDonald's gave us a deal on the Happy Meals that we used as the incentive if they raised $150 or more for the readathon. We did some classroom grants. We always fund the yearly Starfall subscription, and we also funded some supplies for the K-2 reading program. Amanda Simon coordinated all of the supplies that the K-2 teachers would need to complete their reading stuff, all of the manipulatives and the carts and everything that went with that. And so we funded that and paid for that. We did little cardinal temporary tattoos for homecoming, and Commerce Bank helped us pay for the candy for each of the kids to have at homecoming. We did spirit wear sales, fall parties, gifts at Christmas time. We did hot chocolate and cookies to all the students at Christmas time, the day before Christmas break. We donated gifts and snacks and drinks for them to buy at the PBS Christmas store, which they really enjoy. We did Teacher Appreciation Week gifts. We always try to do like a little monthly treat for the teachers just to kind of remind them that we're there to support them. We finally got the safety mats and the climbing structure installed on the playground, so I don't know on your tour if you saw that, but we got that project completed. We did purchase all new swing seats for the playground. That was a pretty immediate need. Some of them were breaking and falling apart, and so we purchased all of those. We are looking at maybe next year purchasing an adaptive swing, but at the time, whenever we were buying the swing seats, the adaptive swing was about $800, and just the 10 swing seats by themselves, I think that was more in the like $440 range. So we did that for right now, and then we'll kind of look at maybe doing the adaptive swing, depending on kind of how our fundraiser goes for cookie dough this year. We did muffins for moms and donuts for dads. Let's see, what else? I don't know, we are at school doing lots of things. We purchased map snacks for the grades 3 through 5, and we also bought a new popcorn machine as ours was breaking. And so we got that fixed, and then got the new electrical outlet put in. Ms. Pettigrew worked with Dr. Rob to get that all ready to go and okay. So our 5-year goals, we want to continue to do all of the things that we're doing now, continuing to support the teachers and support the students, getting more parents involved. One thing that we're looking at next year doing, in August, we'd like to purchase gift cards for all the classroom teachers and all the special classroom teachers. We always have wanted to help them with school supplies, help them with something that they need in their classroom, but it's just so hard to know what every individual teacher needs. So our plan is to just give them a gift card and they can use it as they see fit. If kindergarten needs to use it for snack money in December, whenever their snack funds run out, they can. If they need it for bulletin board stuff or just crafts for a project in the classroom, they can use it as they need to for their classroom. Our cookie dough, whenever we do that fundraiser, our sales, we're hoping to replace the basketball goals, the regular upstanding in the ground basketball goals. We've always tried to do a adjustable basketball goal so that it was a height that the little guys could enjoy and could make, but the portable ones, they just seem to always break. I think we've went through 3 or 4 in the last 5-10 years or so. And so we talked with Ms. Pettigrew about maybe just replacing those with a in-ground mounted adjustable basketball goal. She'd probably have the clip and the crank to adjust them so that they didn't get adjusted on weekends or whatever by other people that are enjoying those. Those probably for both of them would be in the $5,500 range with tax, shipping, all of that. Maybe a little bit more, we'll see. Fundraising requests for next year, again, the spiritware sales, the cookie dough fundraiser, I'm sure we'll do penny wars at some point, and then we'll have the bake sale during the Little Cardinals, Little Cheerleaders game. Other than that, we've got a lot of stuff planned for next year and a lot of ideas, a lot of things that we would like to do. But that's really it for what we did this year. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
So up next, Chrissy Edwards, talk about pre-K child care possibility.
I brought some handouts. There's 3 of them if you guys want to start passing them around. All right. Good evening, and I appreciate you guys waiting or listening here. Dr. Rob asked me to come in and talk to you guys about some stuff that we have going on in the community and some opportunity we have of partnering childcare with the school district. So how this came about was economic development in Missouri got together around different counties and started looking at what the crisis was for workforce after COVID, why people weren't going back to work, different crisis. And they did a lot of surveys with economic development, and a lot of it came out that childcare was a huge need. The lack of having it, things like that. So out of the Monotone County one, this is a slide that economic development put together based on our results for Montauk County. So Dr. Rob, myself, I know Ashley, Ms. Pettigrew's on it, several other people around the Montauk County are on a task force trying to work on gaining childcare in Montauk County, because we are in a desert. So part of that meeting, I have been working relentlessly trying to expand my current facility to offer more services and different spaces, and we've just kind of hit dead ends over and over for what's needed for our community. So in part of that task force, the last session, they had some people come in, different providers, different businesses, things like that, came to the table and talked about how they had partnered together to make this a reality of getting more childcare, more special education offers, things like that to early young children. So that's where Dr. Rob approached me for what I thought was to just look at some areas in your school district and see if they were eligible for this type of space. And then him and I began a conversation about potentially partnering together. I went too far. So, go back. How do you go back up?
Are the lines on the right side there?
But, so, one thing that we talked about with partnering together is because I have already been awarded $250,000 to start a project with a partner. Okay, perfect, thank you. So I have already been awarded money to do this. So where there would be no initial cost to the school, there'd be no cost actually to the school at all if we did some sort of partnership. Some of the benefits that would come out of this for our community for sure is there'd be reduced, like we'd have to start tuition based, so it'd be somewhere between $150, $160 a week for private paid children that would come in. There would be for any person in the school district, it doesn't have to be a teacher, it could be anyone that's hired by the school district, would be 50% off of the tuition rate immediately off the cuff. And it's not just at a facility on your site, it'd be at my facility as well. So if you had a teacher come in that was pregnant and needed infant care, they could come to my current facility and still receive the same benefit as long as we're partnered. The one thing that I think is the biggest benefit to our area that we don't have is in some of the early education meetings, there are about 128 SPED kids coming through the community that are young, that are under the age of 5. And we obviously have nowhere to put those kiddos. So part of, and we'll kind of go into the layout that Dr. Rob and I discussed, but part of that is we can open SPED right now in town to little kids aged 3 to 5. And then we could also open a preschool type to get that ball up and going that I know the district has wanted. And we are truly the only district around that doesn't have a preschool concept. So that's one thing that we could use together that would cost the district nothing, but honestly try to start saving you money. I believe, and I don't want to talk out of turn, that we already do have a couple young kids that we pay for as a district to transport to special learning center. So not only do you pay the transportation.
To that real quick.
Yes, we have, and so this would be another placement option within our range. So right now, we serve kids who are that are already in Little Cardinals and My Church Preschool and have itinerant services. And then if we have a child who needs anything more than that, more classroom type things, we contract with the Special Learning Center. And so that middle group of kids who really don't need to have the intensity of the Special Learning Center, but they do need to have that structured classroom piece of things taught by a special ed, early childhood special ed person, that's the piece that we're missing, that we would be able to partner with that and use our state and local fund, or use our state and federal money. We don't have any, our early childhood program costs the district nothing.
Right.
It's all paid through federal and state money. So,
Reimbursement, correct?
yeah, it's a reimbursement kind of thing.
Correct.
What is the cost of district?
This is the last bill, I don't know off the top of my head, Greg.
I was just curious.
It's in your, I think it was like $10,000 a month.
So that could be an initial savings right off the cuff.
Not,
because-
not all of the kids would
Or all.
come here, but there are at least 2 or 3 that we would need to look at that as a placement option and go through the IEP process to see if that's an appropriate placement for them. And I would think that this would be a much, an appropriate placement because they will be with more typical peers.
And we could, obviously utilize the spots that you guys would need immediately, but then we could also offer to children in the community that need the special care that currently wouldn't have that opportunity. We'd be able to open it up, reach out to some of these kiddos that we know and get ahead of it at 3 versus waiting until kindergarten to get ahead of them. And we'd have the space to do so. Some of the things, and we can kind of talk about some of the stuff I passed out, but some of the things, we'd have to do some minor changes to the space, which is the fax room and the weight room over at the high school. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about the space itself so you guys can understand why that space does work and why other spaces wouldn't work. The reason some of that works is because the fax room has its own entrance to the building. It has an entrance into the room and out of the room, okay? Preschool age children cannot use the same playground as you guys, as the older kids, because it's not age appropriate. There's things that are taller on that playground, things like that, so you'd have to have your own playground. So it could be over outside that door, and that grassy area could be off into a playground area to the side. As well as the weight room. Now the weight room would cut into a doorway, because there's no interior way into the weight room from the school district. You have to go outside and through the front doors. So there'd have to be a door cut through as well for that. But any of those minor things, like fencing in a playground, putting the doorway between the 2 classrooms, things like that, my grant will cover all of that. There truly is no cost to the district at all for me to come in and help you guys start this. I look at this, in my opinion, as like a phase 1, phase 2 kind of thing. I'm actively working to try to build a new facility in Tipton. It's already underway, but these things take time as far as state rules. So, it could take a year or 2 in order to do this. However, if we take advantage of this partnership and this funding that we have now, it allow you guys to not have any cost whatsoever. And some of the grants, and that's just, I only spoke to the grants that I know about. There's a plethora more that the state has been willing to come in and talk to the board as well. I know Nancy knows some of the opportunities for the school district, but there's a 3-page document in there talking about the grants that we can start applying together in September of this year, and it runs through 2024. And those are grant opportunities that we could get together, and you could see some of them talk about the high school and how they can get money and things like that. So it would make the district money. I know that was a lot, and I put together kind of a diagram. What you guys have as the diagram is what I gave to the state. It's what I have to do for them to show where doorways are going to be, windows, measurements, stuff like that. And what you see in red is what would have to change to the area. So outside, there'd be a fence to put in the playground, cut that door in. If we kept a kitchen in that area, because there's 4 kitchens in there, as most of you know, if we kept a kitchen in there, I'd have to put a certain type of safety gate like I have at my current center. The kitchen's kind of still in the air. Fire marshal did pass it for me, but it just depends on what we can do. I am required to have a reception area, so that'd be in that little hallway. And then the state wants me to install 2 doors to where when you guys come out of the foyer, it walks right in. So that it keeps some segregation. So again, all that would be paid for by my grant. I would bring my own staff to the facility, so that wouldn't be anything you fund. When we get the SPED going, special learning would help send an employee if we wanted to do that. There's other options. We can work with the district as well to bring some of your current SPED into early education if that's what they want to do, with like a state funded, and then obviously I would have an assistant in there that would come funded from the current Little Cardinals, okay? I will say that the grant that I am working under has to be in place. I have to be in the building by August 31st of this year. And I have to commit to staying in that space until September 1st of next year. So it has to be a one-year contract that we would move and do something like this. And I just, I think it's coming, I was working on other projects, and so I think it's coming a little bit fast and furious to you guys, but I think it's an amazing idea. I've thought about a million ways of partnering with you guys in the past, and even your old superintendent office and things like that, but it just wasn't big enough. It wasn't spacious enough for what we needed. This, I think, is a great opportunity to get something really started in our district that we need. You guys do have the space that the state would require whether you partner with me or did it on your own. You couldn't just open a kindergarten classroom and say, okay, this is gonna be preschool next year. There's stipulations and rules and laws that you would have to follow as well. And if you've ever toured, like even Otterville, if you go by their pre-Ks on an exterior side, their own playground, the kind of things that you could do on that space. I tried to put together things for the state and as well for the school board, questions that I know when I first started talking to Dr. Rob, things that I knew the state would come back and ask me, how are you gonna do this? How are you gonna work around this? And we don't have to go through all of it, but I did talk about the startup costs. It's not just startup, there's literally zero cost to the district while I was occupying that building. Insurance, I know that's a big thing. Besides insuring the building itself, I would be required to insure my staff, workman's comp, all my children, the contents in the building, outside on the playground, and it would be no different. Like right now, my current facility, we go to the library, we go to the nursing home, all those things. My liability insurance would cover anywhere we were, but we wouldn't be around your campus as far as your track or your playground, things like that. We really, unless it was evening time or something of the sort, something special, we might be on the track, but we wouldn't be in your area. Staffing, like I've said, we would be, it would be my staffing that would come. I bring staff with me. The tuition, we kind of talked about that. Food service, another thing. I don't know if you guys had a chance to talk about it or find out, but I asked Dr. Rob if we could possibly partner and let me buy breakfast and lunches from you guys. Either purchase them, or I know there is some stuff out there where if you guys help provide meals, that there, I think, is some stipend type thing for the school district. And that's where kind of that kitchen comes in place, because I would be year round. I would be 5:30 in the morning to 6 p.m. and I'd be year round. That's something we definitely lack in town, especially with SPED kids, and we need to make sure that we're keeping them consistent all year long in preparation for kindergarten. So in that July and August month, I could either make light lunches and stuff and breakfasts in the site, or I did get approval from the state today that I can bring hot box things from my current facility over to the school, if I had to, if we took out all kitchens. Because, I don't know if this is obviously not a forever thing. Taking out all the kitchen stuff, I know is kind of a remodel, but we do plan to just kind of cap off all of your electricity, your 220s, all that stuff. We don't plan to take anything out. So if you guys wanted to set something back up later down the road, or however you want to do it, we won't be like reconstructing like that. The restrooms. The restroom was a huge question. We talked with the state today, and please understand that I had to have the state come in because we've got to move forward as if this is going to happen, because we'll miss the timeline with the state if we don't. And the state, the main lady came today, the main compliance of the state, and she agrees that if we just say, no, we're not going to do this, we're not going to partner, she just moves on, puts the file away, it's fine, but we had to keep moving. So we talked about restrooms today, and we are required by law to have bathroom breaks every 2 hours. So we have set times already. Not that this can't be tweaked, but these are kind of our schedules. And then obviously any kiddo that needs to go to the bathroom, anytime they need to go to the bathroom, they go. So the bathroom that's in the classroom can be utilized for those in-between moments. We talked to the state today about doing different that, like breaking the kids up into different groups, because right now in my facility, 10 to 15 kiddos use one toilet already, because each classroom has one bathroom. So We talked about doing that. We talked about utilizing the locker rooms. And we even talked about utilizing across the foyer to the high school bathrooms. Just whatever choices we could make to make this work. What schedule's on here to the left is obviously my schedule of restroom breaks. To the right is what your district schedule is. So if you kind of look at that, even if we use the locker rooms and kiddos dress out to go in the gym, when we're utilizing the bathroom, you should be in seat, in class, in the gymnasium, out on the track, wherever you're at. We wouldn't have to commingle. And then the last thing that Dr. Rob and I briefly spoke about, but I had to cover with the state today, was drop off and pick up. Rob suggested taking some of those parking spots out closer to that side of the building and making that more of a drop off lane, so my parents could pull over to the side, drop their kid off and leave. I don't think you're gonna have as much as a chaotic drop off as I have right now at my facility, because we're not gonna fill it as full as that facility. And I think another thing is, majority of my kiddos are in seat in that building by 7:20, 7:30. Not that whoever enrolls might be a little bit later in the day, but most of the time we would be dropped off before even your kiddos would be coming. And then we close at 6, so then pickup would obviously be later. I think there'd be some congestion on game nights and things like that. But I think if we were able to flag off or something so that people knew that that lane was for the pre-K pickup and for the sped pickup, I think that would potentially work. And then I won't waste anybody's time going through all these grants, but I do encourage you to look at them and see what is out there and things that we can do and go from there. Like I said, I have a couple projects underway. I'd love to partner with you guys if you want to take advantage of this grant money that I have. And I hope you do. But any questions that you guys have right away?
I have 2 quick questions.
Sure.
One, I'm sure it's in here, but I didn't see it. How many students would you be able to have?
Fully it'd be 63. There could be
63.
63 between the spaces because it'd be about roughly 16 to 18 in that current weight room. And I know it doesn't look like you could do that because all the equipment's in there, but I assure you it's large enough. But then the other side of the room, the fax room would be split into kind of like some pods, to where we could do break off group learning and then collaborative learning, and that'd be about 45 kids, is what they legally would let me have. I told Dr. Rob I think we should start off slow. I think we should try to get as many people, like teachers that I have on my waiting list, in there first, and then the sped kids. That's another thing I failed to bring up was, over the last couple of years, I've had several people call me and ask about childcare, that they were either applying for positions here or thinking about it. And obviously I don't have any space. So I think that would be a positive thing for your district to hire and retain, being that they could come here and have a discounted childcare. Because you're not gonna go anywhere in the state, I promise, for infants and get 50% off of even what I charge. But there's funding that I can apply for that the state will match me for that. The same with SPED would be at no cost. If we incorporated the Head Start, it would be at no cost for families. It'd just be those private pay type things, which there's funding again coming up in next year that I could apply for to even lower the tuition for those families. So, any other questions?
My other question is just, you do not have to be living in the Tipton School District to enroll, is that correct? Or, okay.
I mean, I don't know what the school district's rules, I mean, we're obviously, this would be a partnership, but as far as me, no. Because, I service all kinds of communities, and it would be almost a standalone business, if you will, but we would both gain benefits from it. The funding that I can apply for, and you'll see some of that wording, the things that I can start applying for in the future, it would be something that the school could apply for as well. And it's just basically stipends. Thank you for partnering, thank you for staying open, thank you for things like that, and there's a lot out there.
Governor in the state of Missouri is designated about $83 million to go into getting preschools started. There are a lot of grants coming online. I also asked Mike Kelly, who kind of got got this task force started. He couldn't be here tonight, but I asked him, because I knew he had that video technical skill, to kind of talk to a little bit about the work he's done. Chrissy's hit some of it, but since he was so good to do this for us, I thought I'd play this just so you guys can
Thank you, Chrissy.
hear his
Yeah,
thoughts.
thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions for Chrissy right now?
Not this moment.
So after you,
Oh, sorry.
no, you're good. So after, like, this is like homework, right? And we've got a couple board members that aren't here, but we'll give them the information. It's time sensitive, obviously. So kind of do your homework, and then when we come back on the 28th, I mean, it's time to make a decision. Okay, because she's got to know, we got to know, because I'm assuming since that's our stuff down there, the refrigerator, the cabinets, the stoves, I mean, it'd be our responsibility to get that out of there.
Unless in my mind, we wanted to let her use some of that stuff that would be usable to her. I think we should go ahead and support it and offer that.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
if there's certain things that have to be done, like the door cut,
Right.
we do this, like the door cut in, stuff that she doesn't need that's in there,
Right,
we gotta get it out of there.
right.
So, if nobody asks a question, just go over this stuff. If you guys do have a question, I mean, she knows way more about this than any of us, so just call her.
And I'll tell you guys too, with the time sensitivity of this, I also need to start working on a memorandum of understanding, essentially a contract, an agreement with them, to be a collaborative between them. So we get our lawyer involved. Okay, there's a little bit of money in that, but I don't want to do those things if you're telling me as a board, you're not in favor of this now. I'd like to see some head nods, let's proceed forward. I'm not telling you to vote necessarily, but I'm gonna start some work on this. And it's gonna take hours, it's gonna take a lot of hours for Chrissy to get going. And, you know, I know we don't have a couple of board members here tonight, but time's pressing. Okay, if you don't have any questions, I'd encourage you to pass this tonight and let us get to work. You know, I am gonna go on vacation in July. I'm sure Chrissy's got a vacation sometime.
Wish.
I'm gonna take one for my own health, but I'm gonna keep pressing it forward to help her get there. And if you vote tonight, if somebody wants to make a motion to vote tonight, I'm gonna press you a little bit, because I'm gonna let you listen to what Mike has to say. Okay, and then you decide, if you wanna do your homework, that's fine.
I mean,
I know
think
you're
it's
playing
only-
catch up. I know you're playing catch
I
up.
think it's only fair that the board needs to do their homework here.
Okay.
I mean, you're talking,
As a whole.
what's today, the
All seven of
14th?
them.
Is today the 14th?
Yes.
Yeah, 14.
It's 2 weeks.
So I mean, we're looking at 2 weeks to, because we'll be back in here on the 28th.
I won't be here,
I
but
think
I'll
that's
be
a
back.
fair,
I'll tell you what I wanna do.
so, no, but thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Chris.
I'll let you hear Mike real quick. Hopefully we can-
As the director of the county's economic development efforts, we were approached in late 2022 by a business within our region to study childcare and its effect not only on the workforce, but also on employers and communities as a whole. So what we did, we brought in Carolyn Christman, who at the time was the economic developer for the community of Kirksville and surrounding areas, who has now started her own consulting company. She came in and spearheaded a discussion between businesses, community leaders, and our economic development organization on childcare. And what we found is there's a huge need for childcare in the 0 to 4, in the after school, in the preteen age groups. There's a huge need. There's a huge cost associated with this need as well. So what we have done, we have formed task force. We have a more regional task force that meets once a quarter now, and we have a more Montauk County focused task group that meets once a month. And the Montauk County task force is aimed at bringing solutions to the table that can work. A lot of the solutions that work out there right now deal with partnerships, and I understand that is what the school is considering, a partnership. I believe in partnerships. There is no one-stop total fix of the child care problem. We in Monotone County are considered to be in a child care desert. So it makes sense if we can develop partnerships between school districts, child care organizations, between businesses and school districts, that it would be a win-win when it comes down to serving the needs of children and parents alike. I'm sorry I could not be here in person tonight, but I really firmly believe that partnerships between businesses, educational facilities, businesses, child care providers, school districts, businesses, school districts, and child care providers is the answer to a lot of the problems going on right now. I'd be happy to entertain any questions you might have. You can call me at 573-353-7510 or email me at mike.kelley, K-E-L-L-E-Y, at mred.biz. Thank you for your time.
Also, the report that came out during this task force is on the board agenda. It is linked in there under this agenda item, so if you want to see that, it's also there.
Okay, moving on, public comment regarding Board of Education community engagement policy. Barry, you want to touch on
Yep,
this?
and there's a new law that asks us to ask the community how they would like to communicate. And that is, we have a lot of ways that we do that. We don't often see a lot of people that are here, but we do have one person tonight that would like to talk to the board and how they communicate with the community and get feedback from the community, and that's Scott Simon, so if he wants to come on up. And I will, unless it was Molly T next, I'm looking at my agenda here.
Yeah.
What's up there?
Molly's up
His you're correct, sir.
I'm correct, it's Molly next, or is it Scott?
It's Scott.
Scott and then Molly.
Scott and Molly. Okay, so Scott, it's all you.
Thanks for putting me before her so I can meet my hand.
What do you
Just
think?
kidding.
What'd you say? What'd you say?
I'm gonna stay.
You don't want to know.
Before I get started, I'm curious, is the normal schedule for these board meetings, is it the second Wednesday of each month, or is it vary?
It's usually the 10th.
Usually
It's Wednesday after the 10th.
Gotcha. All
Because
right.
it
Well,
falls on the 10th.
the reason I ask is, a guy like me needs all kinds of reminders. And you send out a lot of information to email and text, Terry. Very useful to me. I don't mind getting a couple more. You know, send something out a week ahead of time and a day or two ahead of time. So I make time to come to something like this. That would be helpful, but that's not why I'm here. I've got hopefully more to offer than that. I should preface what I'm going to say tonight. Well, let me back up. When Terry sent this out the other night, I was excited to see it. And last night I sat down and thought, well, I better outline some of my thoughts. Otherwise I get a bit scattered and miss some important points. So I sat down last night, started to outline some things, and ended up essentially writing a script here. So bear with me, if you will. I do have a few things that I'd like to share with you. But I want to preface what I've got to say tonight is that I'm a guy that's on the outside looking in on what you do here. I've not been particularly engaged with the board other than a snippet here or a snippet there. So I'm not particularly informed about how you function. Nonetheless, I hope that I'll have something that you've not thought of and is worth considering in the future. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your service. Anyone that has served on a board understands that that's often a thankless job. Despite what you might hear from your constituents, I think the community appreciates what you do. So I want to start off by prefacing everything that I'm going to say. Thank you for doing this. It's important. That said, you made a choice to take this role on, and it comes with considerable expectation. We, the community, count on you, whether we're here or not, and I'm disappointed that there isn't more of us here. I'd like to see this place full with other community members. So when I received the survey, soliciting input on community engagement, as I said, I was excited because I think the board has a public relations issue, and I believe it's something that needs to be solved. Then I talked to Terry, and he took a little bit of my energy away when he told me this was a state mandate, not something that came from this board. So that did disappoint me a little bit, but I hope that you will take it seriously, because I do think community engagement is something that is desperately needed here, and hopefully I've got something for you to think about. And if you don't take anything that I do have to say, man, I hope you'll keep looking. I hope you'll keep thinking about it. So how do we solve this community engagement issue? First, let's recognize that engagement is more than sharing information. I think it means establishing emotional involvement or commitment from the community. That starts with you. I assume each of you are engaged and committed to this, or you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be volunteering your time. But I would ask you, how do you show your engagement? How do you show this engagement? Are you at school events and functions? Are you ambassadors for the school through other activities or organizations? Are you supportive publicly and privately to staff of the district? Do you approach other constituents? Do you approach constituents in the district to see what's going right and what's not? And don't always approach those people that you think will agree with you. Mix it up some. I think that's important. And I'm not asking these questions to imply that you're not already doing these things. I'm just saying, I think it would be useful in creating some engagement with the community. The next thing I would say is how you conduct yourselves as a board matters. And don't laugh at me when I say this, but having fun here is important. It may not seem practical. I don't know that you do have fun here, I'm not sure. But I do think that's important. Try to have fun, because this is an important responsibility, and I think if you have some fun and some camaraderie here, it will make a difference. But if you can't have fun, be respectful, be professional, be prepared, take the time to do this right, do the right things. Acknowledge and fix mistakes, argue when you need to, but always remember your purpose. And while you're here, be passionate and polite. All of this matters. People in the community if they want to be a part of something, they don't want to be a part of something that's unproductive, uncomfortable, or disjointed. Make sure you keep the spirit of these meetings where it needs to be. Again, not saying that you don't, I'm just saying I think that's important. So a moment ago, I asked if you were ambassadors to local businesses or organizations, and I'm guessing each of you are part of some other local group or organization. If so, use that to promote the interests and the engagement of the school district. Terry and you other administrators, this might be one of the torches that you probably have to carry more often than the school board. I think that would be important. If you're not reaching out regularly to local businesses or organizations, I think you're missing an opportunity. Having a reputable school district is critical to the ambitions of our city government. Have you considered how a collaboration with the city leadership would serve the school interests and promote community engagement? I really had a struggle there thinking about what that looked like, and then I saw Edwin tonight, and it occurred to me, well, you've already got some collaboration, right? Security. If something goes wrong at the school, I'm confident that Edwin's going to be there, right? There's probably other things. I don't know what they are, but that's where discussion starts, right? Some brainstorming. And lastly, you are a lay board. That makes this service even more difficult. I have worked for a lay board for more than 10 years, so I understand the challenges that this presents. With just a brief look at the policies this board operates under, it didn't take me long to figure out that you're not just limited to the support of Terry and your administrators. You can lean on others in the community. You have policy that clearly supports engagement with the locals that have experience, education, or some other attribute that would contribute to your role in overseeing the school district. You all know people, or know of people, that carry respect for a variety of reasons. Reach out to them, use them. That is engagement. Now, I am emotionally involved with this school because I graduated here, my wife teaches here, as you know, And most importantly, my kids go to school here. I have not, however, been particularly committed to this school as I should have been. I've been engaged with some of the administration, some of the board members over the years, but I still haven't been as committed as I should have been. Going forward, I can tell you, I intend to challenge myself to be more committed, and that starts with being at more of these meetings. And I'm going to challenge myself to be here more often, and I'm going to challenge others in the community to do the same, because I think that's important, that we should be here. I'm a busy guy. You all are busy. Everyone's busy, but the excuses don't cut it when it comes to this school. It's terribly important, not just for our kids. That's the obvious answer why we're all here, right? It's important to this community. For people that don't have kids or grandkids here, it's important to a lot of people. So I appreciate the fact that you've taken some time to listen to me tonight. If you don't take anything that I've said and want to use it, I still hope that you will consider the issue, community engagement. Look into that, consider what you can do, because I genuinely believe there is a public relations issue here that needs to be solved. And I think it's urgent. I think it's something that needs to be dealt with sooner rather than later, because the more time that it takes, the slower the progress is. Anyway, I do appreciate you listening to me tonight. Happy to discuss it with you privately if you're ever interested in hearing other thoughts. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
And, there is still a community survey out there. I believe the Tipton Times has it on the front page, has the address on it. I think they asked Becky to do a QR code. Unfortunately, we've only had 23 people respond to our survey so far.
It just came out today.
I know it did. So we're gonna keep it open. I'm not gonna cut that survey off anytime soon to give you guys that feedback, but I think I was hoping to have some survey results to
It
share
is
with
on
you
our
guys tonight.
website too, and it links to.
By the
it.
way, on the survey, I said, I checked all the above. You should do all those things.
Yep.
And more to communicate, to get the information out.
Right.
And I'm very sad to hear, not surprised necessarily, but I'm sad to hear you only had 26 people respond. There's more interest in that, guys. There really is. I genuinely believe there's more interest in that. It's just not getting to people maybe, and they're just not taking the time. Again, we're all busy. We just gotta convince people to shift their priorities around and make time for these things.
Yep, I agree. At any rate, that's why we have a good relationship with the Tipton Times, and I appreciate that.
It's on our website
Good.
too, and it links to the QR code.
Yep, good. And did she, I haven't seen the front page yet. Does it actually have the QR code in it? Yeah, so we got a QR code on there. Becky's working with us, Tara's working with us, just to try to kind of feel like the Tipton Times is our, in a lot of ways, our newsletter, because a lot of people read it. You know, they get our texts and things that go out, and get newsletters that go out from our buildings. But I feel like that relationship has grown, and I think it helps our communities. What's your all circulation right now?
About 1,500.
1,500? Okay. And I thought it was several thousand because of the last time I checked. So anyway,
No,
yeah.
but that's
anyway,
not including the ones that we have like for sale and people come and buy those. It's just subscriptions.
And we did give all of our new teachers as well coming into the district. We gave them all a copy of the Tipton Times, and I encourage them to subscribe because I think the Tipton Times has been doing a good job for us.
And
getting
new
our stuff out
hires
there.
get 3 months free too.
They'll get those in their welcome baskets from the chamber.
Yeah, they don't.
Well, the last one, the one I made sure they had the book in it with the Bigfoot on it. I just thought we could pass that out, so we're gonna make sure we get that one. Let them know what we're all about.
All right, next up, is Nurse Molly.
I got you up here, Nurse Molly. Scroll this, it's not slide. It's not converted to slides. Scroll down.
Okay, some of the program highlights that I'm gonna hit on are just education through the staff and student, the dental services that we still provide here at the school. We still do the screenings, hearing and vision. My first focus is K through third graders, any special education requests and any parent requests. We do height and weight for everybody enrolled in a PE class. I still provide all the classrooms with first aid kits, and from my nurse grant, I added everybody this year with thermometers, Kleenexes, sanitizer, and wipes. And then the services that the Montauk County Health Center provides for us are shoe vouchers, immunizations, and sports physicals. This year, like I talk every year, my biggest thing is the shot compliance for the state in October. I was 99% compliant. I had one kid non-compliant and then 2 in progress. And then I'll talk about a grant that I took part of, our wellness and, okay, so we still work with Land of Smiles. After COVID, they went through a virtual one. It's offered K through 3, and then they all get a free little kit and bag. And then also the Community Health Center is the ones that come here and do, they come and do the screenings in the fall, and then they come back with their RV, and then they can do more stuff with like the portable clinic and doing more follow-ups with the dental stuff, like root canals, you know, extractions and things like that. Staff personnel, this year it was very important. We had to add the seizure training requirement. I always touch on it with my training at the beginning of the school year, but this year they actually, all staff had to be trained in it. Whoops, here it is. It's called the Will's Law. At the summer of 2022 is when it became a mandatory thing. And I'm still trying to get more people involved that have any access to our kids, whether it's like bus transportation and all that, cafeteria workers, subs, and it's a 2-year certificate. And it's just a small video and quiz that they have to take online. It doesn't take less than 30 minutes to do, but we did have to place that in effect this year. Here's some pictures from the dental portable one. It's the coolest little RV. I don't know if anybody's ever drove by. When it's there, it's usually there for 3 days out in front of the elementary. So the same community, they come in the, like, well, they came in December, served 166 kids, and that's just screening them, seeing, and then applying the fluoride. And we had 55 with like extra treatment that they requested that, you know, need to go further to a dentist. But only 3 urgent ones, which has been improving from previous years. And then in February is when they did the RV. They served 14 kids with just cleanings, and then 9 had the follow-ups, like I said, like the extractions and things like that. Here's our BMIs from our PE classes. I did a comparison from October to May, because we always get a fall weight and then an end of the year weight. So I mean, we had a little bit of change, but not much. And I just look at that because I want to see if there's other things that we can implement, not providing such junk food and sodas, and offer more healthy, nutritious, because that's my department. This is one of the big things that the Montauk County Health Center works a lot all around the clock with me. At the beginning, when we do the back to school bash, they come in to do anybody that's going into 8th grade or 12th graders and provide immunizations to those. We served only 8 And then they came back in the spring for the upcoming 8th graders and 12th graders and served 8. But those are 16 kids that didn't go out in the public and get it, and helped get me those kids along so I can get that 100% or 99% compliance in October for the state. They also come and provide the flu vaccine in October. We have, that's about an average, is about 60 staff and students. And then the sneaker project is one of my biggest fun, exciting things to do, is they work alongside the sneaker project, and they provide shoes, brand new shoes, and we provided 20 this year. It's so fun to see the kids try those brand new shoes on. So almost 6,000 office visits this year. Just a few. Elementary is obviously my big area. So 5th grade is my friends. But like some of these numbers, also like all the office visits in anything from an injury to medicine. So everything you see is, I mean, I log anybody that comes into my office, I log it. And there's always different categories that I document it under. So as you can tell, almost 50% of my 6,000 visits are prescription medicine. That's how many students I see. But that could be an inhaler, that could be, and then daily meds. This is by far the biggest year I've had with daily medication, trying to make sure our kiddos are taking their medicines and helping families out. So, as you can tell, our numbers did go up with, sorry if you guys can see, from 4,600 to 5,900 in the difference between the years. So I did have quite a bit more this year. My new grant that I did this year was a grant for feminine hygiene products. I received $863 to purchase feminine hygiene products, which is a hot commodity at the school. And so we have a good chunk of supplies. And like Better and I have talked in previous, but hasn't quite put it into effect, is putting like little stations in, at least starting with the girls' bathrooms, just so it's available. And then eventually, like maybe even adding areas to the men's restrooms, like combs and deodorants and things like that, just so it's easy and they don't have to go all the way to my office to get those things. So the wellness program is with our insurance company. I really want more people to be involved in this, but I just only get like 1 or 2 each year. But out of the 19 staff members that took part in it, we had 800 receive $250. It's just easy, just steps and activities, workouts and things. And then they always do a drawing. Like I asked her at the end because I was really kind of curious. So approximately 100 other schools are involved in this with the insurance. So out of the 2,600, school employees, we had 2 winners that were drawn from our school district. Leslie won a whole brand new pot and pan set, and then Crystal Milan was $175 plus whatever she won for the gold, silver, or bronze. So one thing that we had talked about before COVID hit was bringing in a telehealth service. We were talking about using the community health, but then that kind of fell through, and they haven't reached out anymore. I don't think that they're even going to put that through. So I am looking to see if there is any other surrounding areas that use the telehealth services. I think it would be beneficial for our kiddos, because a lot of the times we have just recurrent sickness that we can't get those parents to get them to the doctors. It's not beneficial, or we just keep having those same sick kids coming and never getting treated. this would be, a benefit. They would bring the equipment to the school, and like, that lady would be like the school nurse. She would have the equipment and communicate through a doctor, and that doctor would be like, oh, yeah, this girl has an ear infection, and send the script to the pharmacy, and voila, there's like the doctor visit. But, I mean, it's the same stuff I'm already doing, checking a girl's, you know, ears out, throat out, it'd be the same thing. So that is one thing that I would like to see put in place eventually, and find a place that is offering those services. Health screenings are a lot of work, especially if it's just me doing it and trying to get everybody that needs to, and finding that quiet place, and finding the time where I'm not being constantly interrupted. When I did nursing school, that was one of our things. We could kind of volunteer and go to schools and help the nurses do the screenings. And I would like to reach out to like a local school to help come in one day and help do all the screenings, which it just consists of the height, weight, hearing, and vision. If not, there are some awesome things, but very expensive, but more efficient. Kind of, instead of just doing the ABC charts, you know, you can actually kind of diagnose them with certain vision problems or hearing problems. So that is one thing that I'd like to look into eventually. Any questions?
Anybody have anything? Do you have everything you need? That's my question. I mean, as far as outside of that thing.
That's been on our list for 2 years. Great, this is the 3rd year.
I mean, as far as supplies and.
Supplies, yeah, I still have a ton left from the grant that, we still have like stored underneath here. But, I mean, my supplies list for this year is a lot smaller because I still have so much more. But just for the basics, yeah.
Anybody else? Thank you.
So now we're into reports. Terry's up first.
A long time ago in a land far, far away called 2018, prior to the pandemic, we had a strategic plan. The board back then didn't include any of you, all the way back then. But you can see some of the kids that have grown up in this slide, even over that time period. I would call this at best a foundational plan. We began to take a look at what we needed to do and who we are, and developed a new mission. We developed a new slogan. You can see it on the back wall, we build the future. And talking about dealing with some cultural issues, talking about dealing with a lot of things that we felt like were problems. And a lot of this was board discussions. The challenges of building a supportive school culture, engaging the community still remains on the list. We talked about enhancing our curriculum and instruction, developing facilities and planning, and we did some of that. We fixed the HVAC, we added additional security. We began to develop a plan for our facilities, which we have, that we revisit frequently. We did that facilities review tonight, just so that we all had eyes on things that are going on in our district and things that need attention, and that whole resource allocation piece. And engaging in continuous improvement. So there's a little story there about what was done and how that communication was received. And then we began to look at what do we need to put together. A lot of these things look familiar, should sound familiar. We've done a lot with STEAM, with Project Lead the Way. We've got some awards that are hanging on the wall as becoming a distinguished district. We worked on PBIS, that cultural piece. We looked at and started to look at intervention, which Ms. Metter can tell you about when she showed you the space in the library today and how we have an interventionist now. A lot of things have developed over that, basically about a 6-year time period that we're not here before people on this board were here. and it's taken several years to kind of lay this foundation down. So now it's time, one thing that it has a lot of nice beliefs, statements. We talk about what a professional learning community is. This was approved by the board many years ago. And it was updated for a while, and then something called the pandemic happened and disrupted everything. But fortunately for us, we had a plan. We continue to invest in professional development. We continue to invest in people and literacy. We continue to work on STEM. We talked about what we're going to do in the junior high, and you can look at some of these things right here and see that Project Lead the Way launched, 2018 to present. That's going to be developed. You can see the awards on the wall. We've also developed junior high with Project Lead the Way, and I'm trying to think, I know we worked on some high school classes.
We had one high school
Yes,
class
one high
last year,
school class from last year.
cybersecurity.
And that might have been the first one.
It was.
Cybersecurity. So we've almost reached every one of these goals in some way, if not all the way. You can even see the support and implement one-to-one Chromebooks in 6th grade only. But we were able to take advantage of the grants and get one-to-one across the entire district. We used E-rate to add Wi-Fi hubs, which are now worn out, believe it or not. We're having to replace all of those. E-rate is a federal program, so those are going to be going in. I've been working with Fred Norman to keep and maintain that piece where kids can still access everything wirelessly. So a lot has been done over time, but as we finish these things, it's time for some new goals. It's time to start looking at this again, and it's time to start having conversations about where do we go now. We've laid some good foundations about what we're all about. Now what do we do next? So in strategic planning, and that's exactly what this says at the very top, I think we probably would have been done with this plan a lot sooner had the pandemic not happened. I think we would have been looking at it a lot sooner had the pandemic not happened, but then something called the Missouri School Improvement Program 6, version 6, we were on version 5, included an element that said, hey, by the way, all of you school districts, we're going to put you in lockstep and make you all do it and respond to it in a certain way. There were no stipulations for what a school improvement plan would look like. This one, I will tell you, was based on the assessment of our own district, and it was also based on some other districts that I've been familiar with through Advanced Ed and North Kansas City, and looking at how they had improved their schools. So I tried to pull from a lot of different areas. Some people know I have experience in much larger districts and things that have been innovative and good in those school districts. I tried to bring them to our scale, because they were within reach. So those things have been laid down, but like I said, now the prior plan has almost been completely accomplished. And now we're getting into, see if I can see it, where the state is asking for a response to the standards of a grade school. And they're asking every school district to go through this new continuous improvement process. We've met in this room with our area supervisor several times. We met just recently a few weeks back. We met as a team, everybody who's available that can be contributing to this. And we're starting to look at, and here if you want to see the leadership one that we're going to have to respond to. And I've just started drafting out, describe the local board and superintendent, chief executive officer's professional learning experiences in your LEA, local education agency, because we got to throw, another acronym in there somewhere. But share how these practices have enhanced the system of governance. So I've already started to list some things here. And I'm going to finish out that portion to respond to Desi on what we have been involved in. It's really kind of hard, though, because when you see a school bottom out and the governor shuts it down, and then we come back and we're having to do all this stuff about quarantining and everything else that has come out, and the health department's down the road saying we're not wearing our mask right, it's kind of hard to have had a lot of consistency. And people talk about this last year, we're finally away from it, but it's still kind of lingering out there, and we're trying to recover from all these things that were foisted on us. And I think Nurse Molly, she found several cases of quick response COVID-19 tests. We're going to use those this year. We're throwing them away, right? Okay. That's great. Good with me. That's a joke. But at any rate, I don't need to blame the pandemic for everything, because I think schools still happen. school still happened under some pretty challenging circumstances. So we'll have to respond to these, and the admin team is beginning to fill these out, talking about the high quality learning we've done. We have done a lot of things already in our past plan and implemented them over the years that we can now respond to how are we identifying students that demonstrate on-track performance and multiple measures of success. We have an assessment system to tell us that, don't we, Ms. Meadow? What is that system?
Evaluate.
We use Evaluate. We test against Missouri learning standards, and we can tell if a student's on track or not. And we can give that, but probably one of the biggest challenges we have regarding staff and faculty and certified staff and faculty is having those people consistently that have been here with us for a while. So last meeting, what did we do? We're trying to keep and retain people. We're trying to have a salary schedule that is competitive with our conference. So that's important to keeping and attracting people, especially when you look at our data. So all of these standards we'll have to respond to. And as the team and I pull these together, and they're starting to pull some things in there, I'll be writing a narrative in here. I get to be the grammar police on this one. And there are 5 pieces here that we will have to respond to. There's 6. So each one of these are very similar. Last year we attended the District Continuous Improvement that was sponsored in St. Louis by DESE. It talks about a lot of those processes. We laid some groundwork there with a lot of our key personnel. We're already in that continuous improvement mode. And you saw it when we made a very deliberate move by saying, hey, we need all our kids to be success ready. So what we're going to do is we're going to hire Jolene Garber to come in and be our advisor to make sure kids are ready going out the door and they know where they're going. So this is on, if you think of anything as a board, and as you look at this, I hope you looked at it before you came to the meeting tonight, on some of the things that you see, because we're all responding to this. And Dr. Rob gets the privilege of putting it all together and responding to DESE, because now it's not just create your CSEP, like we have in the past. Now it's put it in our framework and respond how we want you to respond. So it becomes another check from DESE, because I will be honest with you, there are a lot of districts that don't do what we've done in the past. And it's okay for them to have a format, because I can look at this format and say, yeah, those are all on point. We do need to respond to those. And we do need to talk about how we're doing these things and the groundwork that we have laid down, because we will have a lot of things to say, and there may be some areas that we need to work on. Like you see TL3 up here, and I'll pull this one out, and then we'll kind of move on. But the school system is intentional in providing relevant, high-quality, career technical and/or advanced professional studies based on students, here's another acronym, ICAP. Individual Career Academic Program. That ICAP piece, every student, does every student have to have one of those, Ms. Meadow, in your school? Yes, they do. They actually have to meet with our counselor and advisor and develop an ICAP. Otherwise, our accreditation loses points because we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, which is preparing kids and making them success ready. So that's just one of many checks on what we're supposed to be doing as a school. So it's a lot of fun to make sure we're checking all the boxes, but at the same time, I'm not offended by it. It's just more of we have to be very coordinated and systemic in our efforts, because if we're not, they're going to let us know about it. They're going to let us know about it. So I encourage you as a board to take a look at some of these. I'm not going to go on and on and on, drove on and on. But there are some things that DESE is definitely, they're all the highlighted things that DESE is going to hold us accountable for and want a response on. And it reminds me of the times in the past when I've had to do full-on advanced ed nationwide, it's a worldwide accreditation on schools like North Kansas City, Vashon, Waynesville, I did one there. And I was like, they are borrowing their playbook is what they're doing. A lot of it looks very familiar to me. And a lot of the things we've done, fortunately, in our plan, our teachers our administrators, our support staff have been doing are right in line with being able to respond to these standards. So we have some draft learning goals. We've already started drafting some goals. And I'll end with this. You know, a lot of our goals were basically around laying foundation and getting started with some programs. Ms. Pettigrew, does PBIS have any measures to award you with a bronze, silver, or a gold medal?
We have a rubric of several different things you have to be able to accomplish and have in place in your district.
And they don't just hand you those, do they? No, they don't. And you actually have to implement a certain number of
Interventions.
interventions. You actually have to show it. You actually have to be audited. Don't you have some evaluators that actually come around the school and talk to kids? Yeah, they did it at my school too, guys, when I was working with PBIS. So there are measures to get to some of these things. And Desi's kind of, you know, we've implemented some programs with measures that we needed. And I remember Mr. Kohler's not here right now when he was talking about, you know, we need to have better discipline in our school. I feel like our staff and faculty really want to do what's right. And I said, hey, what about this framework? And then Ms. Pettigrew came in, Ms. Lawson came in, some key teachers, and they all worked together to work that model because we really want kids in class and with good behaviors. And it's the only research-based model that's out there that really makes a difference as far as discipline connected to learning. So that's why we pursued it. So looking at literacy and numeracy, you can say reading and math, okay, same thing. We looked at a lot of our scores, and in some cases, when the state gives us a test, we are slightly below the state average. I don't think any of our administrators like that. I don't like it. I think we ought to at least be at the state average, because you'll see an assessment that comes out and you think, well, all the state got, only 20% of the state was proficient or advanced, or 30%. You know, then we should be at least at 30%. And there's something about that assessment, which DESE has changed their assessments over and over and over, right? Always getting something new. It's a moving target a lot of times. So everybody's trying it on the new pair of boots, you know, for the first time sometime. But we should be about at the state average or better when we take these assessments if we're paying attention to Missouri learning standards. So the first goal that we're looking for, you know, to say we're going to have 100% of our kids scoring proficient and advanced is not realistic, because 100% of our kids cannot score proficient or advanced, not on a state assessment. They just can't. It's impossible. You have special needs out there. You have children who are dyslexic. You have kids who have struggled with school their entire life. It's just not going to happen. So, but we need to get as many as we can at that proficient or advanced level in English language arts. And there are action steps that are there of things that we need to do. And letter F, ironically, in some of our discussions, we talk about communications with parents and letting parents know that they're part of the education process too. It's not just the teacher in the classroom. You know, you can raise your hand if you want to. I mean, how many of you had a mom or a dad that sat down and did your times tables with you, or taught you your spelling, or worked with you on a lot of things, or took you to the library as a kid, or tried to teach you piano and you rebelled? Okay, that was me. But trying to keep you awake with little side jokes. You gotta pay attention here. So at any rate, there are several steps there, everything that we were coming up with that would make a difference to try to make and try to follow through with fidelity, a lot of people like to say, and that's doing it well. So that we can get the most number of kids proficient or advanced when the state comes in and tries to do a temperature check and see where we are. Now the good thing is, if you look at letter B here, is that we're already progress monitoring, and we had a lot of discussion about this, didn't we, ladies? How are we monitoring our kids as we go through? There is no football coach in the pro football NFL that goes into the football season and never looks at the stats for his players and sees how they're doing. What's the percentage completion for Tom Brady? Is he really hitting it on the mark? Is he running for touchdowns? Is he doing what we need him to do? Is he executing the plays? They're looking at all that stuff. They're looking at film. They're looking at it on the sidelines on an iPad. Constantly checking progress to see, is this working with these kids? We are asked to do some of the same things with kids. So we have a lot of the software and the things we need to be able to do that. Same thing when we're talking about numeracy and math. So as we go through those, I thought it would be interesting. Anybody heard about ChatGPT? Just for a little fun thing here at the end. ChatGPT. Artificial intelligence is out there. I kind of talked about a few of our action steps, and you know what I did? I've been experimenting. You're going to see a lot of my experiments, I think, in the future. I actually gave this to our area supervisor, and he asked for a copy of it for his meeting at DESI. Okay? And I put in, I said, write action steps for a public school improvement plan to meet the following goal. Now, we did not cheat off this paper. I'm just going to tell you this. But we spent a lot of hours on this. I put this into AI and got it back in about 10 seconds. Okay? And it's my understanding, as best I can understand AI, is that AI pulls from the internet, pulls research all together, and responds to what I asked it to do. So here's the action step. Analyze your current data. Ladies, did we talk about looking at our current data? Yes, we absolutely did. Review the school's historical ELA assessment data. Were we looking at data from DESI? Yeah, we were, our last scores. Establish clear expectations. Develop a school-wide target. We want to be at or above. We just did that. Communicate with all targets, all stakeholders. Oh yeah, we talked about a communication plan. They even talked about our instructional leadership teams, which we have in the school, okay? That we work constantly to try to put those teams of people together. So AI actually knows what to do. We also talked a lot about having professional development because we have some turnover of teachers, which we're trying to address that turnover. And it says provide professional development. Make sure everybody knows what to do. I was like, this is incredible. So I guess I look at, just as a side note, I look at AI as a check on your own thinking a little bit. I don't think you should use it cheap, but it's nice to know that it can draw from the whole World Wide Web, and it can give you things. I can read all these and go, here's one we missed. Number 10, celebrate achievements. Well, that's part of the PLC. I should have known that. We're supposed to celebrate achievements. Maybe we can do a little better. I always tell Miss Pettigrew's kids, let's get sheet cake when the kids all get advanced and proficient. We've been doing a little celebration, so maybe we're doing that one already. And share our success stories to the wider community and build support and momentum. So there's that community engagement piece again. That is not a human being that wrote those guys. That's artificial intelligence. I hope it doesn't look like Terminator. So there you go. So we're continuing to plan, and we'll continue to put this in front of you. We'll be responding to DESI. At some point, we will be looking at an entire new plan, but we are on our way and moving in the right direction in that regard. What questions can I answer for you? I think that's the last thing I have to put up here.
You got anything? No? All right, moving on, you had all the administrators' reports there.
I will be quick. I'd like to draw your attention to our academic intervention part. One thing I'd like to show you is we were able to identify about 20 kids at the very beginning of the school year that we knew had struggles and challenges in the previous school year, and we were able to keep 8 of them from having to attend either Jan term or 5th quarter, which makes my heart happy. About 40% of those kids did not. You have some data that I kind of talked about earlier. I told you that was a big number, and I couldn't remember it when we were on our tour, but you can see that there was 3,248 visits to academic intervention throughout the school year. I was amazed. Mrs. Melton kept track of those on a daily basis of who she saw and what she helped with. She turned in her grade record book, and every day she logged who she met with. There was one week in April, the greatest number of contacts in that week was 181 here at the push at the end of the school year to try to help kids be successful. So very pleased and proud of that. Just kind of wanted to draw your attention to that. That's the new schedule for the 23-24 school year is linked there for you to be able to click on it and take a look at. And then Miss Nancy Miss Ashley and I, we all met for professional development, the same things that Dr. Rob was just talking about, of how we're planning out, how we're gonna support teachers and what we're going to do in the coming school year. And the only thing I had to add to our accomplishments part was the archery group that traveled and had lots of good feedback from them of what went on, and I learned about the difference between gold arrows and black arrows and which ones shoot better and some things of that nature. Ms. Wolf had shared that with me. I did include one of our new parents to the district's comments on there. They came in and they were very pleased with things, and she had told me that they're at promotion night and moving forward. But then I was pleasantly surprised by that email one morning, and I just felt like I needed to share that as well.
As far as elementary, the front page has several pictures and fun things going on at summer school. We started with like 198 kids, and kids out on vacation, sick kids, we're running about 178, 180 at school every day, so pretty good turnout. The second page is the big highlight. It's our iReady, which I felt like we were way ahead of where we should be when we were looking at assessments. They trialed iReady probably 3 years ago. I think this is probably the 4th year of implementation. It was just named as one of the very few assessments from the state of Missouri that was an approved assessment, and we'd be required to have it in place anyway. So we knew that we were on the right track, but I think that graph and the numbers highlight just the incredible things going on in the classroom and the teachers being on target. And students are growing, students are learning, so as we move towards progress on our MAP scores, I think we're headed in the right direction. And then just a rundown of all the fun last week of school. Mrs. Lawson told us over the weekend that we've been in summer school for 2 weeks, so we were headed home for Christmas break. We're in third quarter now, and we're gonna right round up the year, so it's looking positive. Oh, I know, right? Almost full.
And then for my report, I started out with the reading data first, the work, and then I have on the next pages the fun stuff. We went, summer school has been so much fun. We were able to take the kids swimming. We had some students who had never been to the swimming pool before and were able to go to the swimming pool, and oh my gosh, it was wonderful. But anyway, you can see the kinds of things that we have going on. Does anybody have any questions? We're same thing. We're making progress. We're moving kids from, moving them from level to level, so.
I don't have any questions. Does anybody else? Just thank you all for all the hard work. Moving on, we got new business.
Okay, the handouts that I gave you tonight when we went on the walk, there are some bids there that did come in. The one that I don't have is on the bus drive, and that, there's no turn in. I've asked for them for the last few weeks, but Aaron Moon would probably like to put one in on the bus drive part of it. And I think he's gonna give us one. Amy, is that Thursday? Is that what he told us?
I called him, and he wasn't able to get that to us right now.
Okay, so I think he told us he's gonna give us. Okay.
We'll see.
He had a vacation in that guy, so I think
Yeah.
he's pretty busy. He's probably pretty busy with work. These are the bids that have come in for some of these areas that we talked about on that walk. Mr. Ambrose is here today. Right there. And so he can answer any questions about any of the things he's provided. If you look at those, they have the yellow pieces on there.
Do what?
They have the yellow pieces on there. No, I'm not you, I'm telling them.
No, you left it on my trunk.
On
My car, I threw this in there. Walk in and
Just give me my trash. Okay, so the stadium parking, where we've got the curbs, that's where we put the new fence in, out in our stadium parking lot there behind the bleachers. And Mr. Ambrose, I understand you're bidding 1725-foot curbs there by the fence, kind of like he's done all.
Just like we did
Yep.
over by the playground.
Right. So there's that one that you can consider. There's also, we won't go to the track repair. I think that's, in my mind, that's a no-brainer, and, you know, you guys wanna make we wanna protect our new fence, right? So that's why I asked him to do that, he's done all of our curves. It's this one. So, that's for the curbs and the parking lot, behind the bleachers, right along the fence line. There's no curbs there to protect that fence. I mean, we can go through each one of these and talk about each one, or you can say, yeah, that's something I wanna see done, or we can go through them all first. What's the board's preference on that?
Any opinions?
If I may, with the track repair, are you looking at those?
We're not looking at the track right yet.
Okay.
No. Then we just do gradual disclosure, do the easy ones first. That's my idea.
So we're just talking about the stadium parking lot?
I just talked about stadium parking curbs, that's all this is, up against the fence, kind of what we did over there at the playground already. Protect your fence, don't let it get slammed into by somebody. $17.25, that's pretty reasonable, curbs are $50 a piece. He's gonna haul them in, put them in, line them up for us, you saw the good work he's done already. We've had him on the hook for about a year now. Anybody got a motion on that to approve that?
I'll make a motion to approve doing the stadium parking curbs.
Okay, we got a second?
I'll second.
So we got a motion by Amanda, seconded by Ashley, all in favor. 5-0.
Okay, so we got the parking curbs approved. That was, I thought it was an easy one. I'm not trying to take over your meeting, I'm just trying to keep you out there, so. This is okay.
Go to the first one, go to the gravel.
Gravel,
Yes.
okay.
Okay.
Gravel parking lot with curbs. That's up on the hill. Is this one up on the hill, gravel parking lot with curbs?
Yes, sir.
This is up on the curb, sorry, up where the old CO is, putting rock up there, putting the curbs up there. This is not the big blocks, right?
Right, that's the curbs, but are you doing a fence up there?
We are doing a fence up there.
So
You wanna wait till the fence gets in?
I would like to wait till the fence gets done, that way we can put the parking curbs, you know, far enough away, just like we did by the,
Right.
playground. Do you have any idea when that fence is gonna go in?
They have it ordered, and he just has not given me a date yet. Anytime you can call me and say, hey, we're ready.
Okay.
Looks like we'll get 20 parking spots up there, guys. 20 parking curbs.
And that would be all along the fence, I mean, you
Yep.
may get more along 50, you know, facing 50.
Right.
But we didn't wanna make it to where people thought they, you know, I don't want people to pull down, you know, into MoDOT's right away there.
Right. Thoughts on that? Right now, it's growing weeds. We don't have to do anything to it. And if you want to.
So we wait till the fence is up.
Well, now, we would definitely wait till the fencing was up. We just have them ready to go when the fencing went up, you put the gravel down on the curbs. But if you wanna wait and not do it, that's okay too.
We need to, because like you said, people are gonna pull in there anyways, and it's a mud pit right now. We'll have a disaster. We don't.
So I'll make a motion to approve the gravel parking lot with curbs. Motion by Diggs,
I'll second.
seconded by Amanda, all in favor. 5-0.
And that's two. Now we get to the harder one. We do have two bids on this one. We got Higgins, hold on. Yeah, that's right. We got Higgins Asphalt. They've given you, they walked the,
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Since that's been filled in, do we need to wait a certain amount of time, or do you think it's gonna pack?
I mean, I wasn't here what, you know, with what Machini had.
Right.
But, you know, I gave y'all a bid on tearing the building down, and I know it wasn't that deep.
Okay.
You know, I wouldn't really be that concerned about it. I believe my bid says we're gonna be putting down 4-inch clean. You know, that, I mean, that's gonna pack in pretty tight.
Okay.
So,
Perfect.
All right, we've got two bids thinking about the track. You saw some of the curves, some of the cracks in there. You didn't see the biggest of them. Ms. Metter reminded me, I should have taken you to the front. You can about put your foot in some of those. You've got two different ones here, and I tried to write on it here because I called Higgins back just to make sure I understood their bid. Now, they're looking at our bus drive as well. We did ask Aaron Moon to look at it. He has not provided bids at this time. Tom will speak for him, but he just may be too busy right now. Higgins Asphalt did.
There's a deadline on it.
I just kept asking for it, and I told them that we were gonna do it at this board meeting, so, it's not over, it's 25,000 is what my limit is to put it posted bids or whatnot, but I just solicited them if they're below a certain amount. So these are small jobs. Higgins we've used in the past, obviously they did a lot of our asphalt. I think they actually sealed the track the last time. So they are proposing, here's what they're proposing to do. They've got an alternate bid for the bus drive. Alternate bid is the bus drive, so that's the bus drive things that we saw. They've actually given you a diagram on those. We're gonna talk about the track first. Let's talk about the track first. What do you want to do with the track? Ambrose has proposed to use concrete, which can be colored and be cut out. Mr. Ambrose, you want to talk about that a little bit?
so we could call in, corning cutting. They'd come in and cut the track for us. We'd come in and rip that out and then, get it down to a solid base and then pour it back in concrete. And there's different options we can use. One would be just regular gray concrete that you have outside, or we could get it colored to match as close as we could to the asphalt that's there. The problem with the coloring is that it does tend to fade, the darker colors fade faster. And then of course we come back in and stripe it. I mean, or let's roll it on to match the other lines that are there. The gray concrete would probably look kind of tacky, but it would get rid of the cracks that you don't have. And the colored concrete would, hopefully get us closer to the asphalt color that you don't have.
Anybody's thoughts on that?
I mean, the nice part is we're just a three-man team for the most part, on all the jobs here, so.
I mean, I don't know.
Other option. I mean, either do that or, I mean, either,
And I'm not an asphalt guy, I don't know. But I mean, if you go, I mean, that's two different.
Higgins wants $8,000 to repair it with asphalt, and his bid is, with the concrete colored, is $5,400. With the color, without the color, it's $4,600.
You're looking at the total bus drive plus the
I'm
tracks.
sorry, I'm sorry. Depends on how you want to repair it.
I mean, obviously, needs some attention. I just don't know how to choose different.
I'm afraid we need the asphalt, with the asphalt pull away from the concrete. Then we're back to square one.
And like where your asphalt and concrete butt up together, it's gonna be water, and it's just gonna deteriorate. That's your fault. It's just me looking at that. So what do you all think? school? Good
No,
question.
I don't know. The sooner we get on the list, the more likely it will be.
Ladies, what do you all think?
I agree, I just don't think the concrete and the asphalt are gonna butt up together, and then you're gonna have a bigger mess.
Do you want to go the other route, or do you want to wait and see if Aaron Minor returns a phone call, or do you want to solicit someone else?
So we thought about bidding it with cold patch, like in bags, you can buy at Lowe's or whatever, but, you know, from what I've seen, it's like on the roads, MoDOT will try to do it occasionally in Jeff City, and that stuff never holds up for, you know, I mean, at that point, you're just patching holes. You know, it's not ever gonna bind to what's there. Nor are you gonna get the same finish that, you know, like your track right now is slick, you're not gonna get a slick finish on cold patch cold patch asphalt.
What's your think?
I think hold off on that one myself. That's my opinion.
Table it?
Till the 28th?
All right, we're tabling it.
And what is the, what would be the,
Drive,
drive?
it's on the
It's
same.
on the same one.
There's alternate bid right there, I labeled it, because I was confused too. They give you a little map here. And they're talking about fixing it right here, this one, guys.
And that's the area when it was those,
That's the areas that are starting to.
that you
pick up.
showed the most
Yeah.
when you were over there.
Yeah. No.
Well,
It's not
that
that.
was small, I guess it'd be down here. Good chance.
Yep.
No, so pass that.
Yep.
So what about the bus line?
Yeah, let's get rid of that.
Honey, you got it.
The only one we're looking at is Sports Fields right there, for that one, right? Higgins is the one that did that one. Yeah. Not sure where you need, right?
Bid there for $7,821.
Plus $695.10.
The top one bid.
Oh.
You gotta take a grand total less.
I got you.
Yep.
Got it. Yeah, I'm not there.
So, 13.
So it's not even much.
$9,746.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve Higgins Asphalt to repair the bus drive for,
More than that.
It's like 13.
Yeah, it's
This
like
one.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1925, so.
Yeah, it's the other
Yep,
two.
you're right. I had to keep on
Otherwise, I'd be jumping on them.
there.
Just shy of 14,000. Yeah.
13,916.10.
13,519.
13,916.10.
Oh, Okay, I'll make a motion to accept Higgins Asphalt's bid for Just Eat Bus Drive for $13,916.10.
Motion by Diggs,
I'll second.
seconded by Asher, all in favor. 5-0. Now we are at, okay, last thing on, no, it's not the last thing. First reading board policy updates.
Just need you guys to look through those. There's a lot of explanation in there from MSBA. We'll pass those at our next meeting.
Just check those out when you get some free time on the board. And sees a football sign here.
Okay, you got it right there. Coach Culpepper said he would be glad to be on speaker during this part, and talk to you about it. And I will call him.
It's just
Is the
a matter of raising the money.
That is the cost.
That's the cost to do it. Then we're offsetting that with this stuff, type stuff.
Yes. Right now, we have a $10,000 pledge from Tipton Open Bank up the front.
So why don't we take care of this?
Good to me.
That way we know, as you're approving it for that, you're not gonna be in it for that.
No.
So
No,
let's
that's
figure out what it's gonna cost, and then the board can decide if they wanna do it or not.
right.
So let's table it. Right, let's table it until we get some better info.
Do we get it all sold?
That's fine too. Since Bo's gone, I'll make a motion to move into closed session and pursuant with 610.021 to discuss bullet points 3, to include the Board of Education and Ms. Metter, and that is it.
Thank you, guys.